There are more than 100 unique styles of beer, each with their own set of ingredients, process, guidelines, history, and experience. If you're a beer lover, an industry leader, or somewhere in between, a better knowledge of beer style will improve your life and your work.
Welcome to A Sense of Beer Style, essential beer style training for those who want to lead in food and beverage. I'm Julia Herz.
And I'm Jeremy Storton.
We're advanced Cicerones, beer judges, home brewers, and we're excited to guide you through the vast and wonderful world of beer styles.
Well, Julia, this has been a long time coming, that you and I are finally getting this show off the ground.
You think? You brought it up yesterday in warm-up. We've been at this since August 2021.
Yep.
And now here we sit in early December 2021. And I got up this morning excited for many wonderful things I'm grateful for, but this was top of the list.
Well, we've been busy. I'm going to say we've been busy. You've been busy. But you and I first had this conversation in August 2021 about putting together this style cast. We're going to call this a style cast because we believe in better beer education for the world. Oh, that looks beautiful. First of all, to kick this off, let's do a quick little cheers, but we're going to have to cheers the microphone.
Cheers to our first Prepisode of A Sense of Beer Style, the newest out there with such potential and greatness to help and educate stylecasts that you might find on beer.
Yeah, and so as you heard from the intro, I'm Jeremy Storton with Good Beer Matters, and my partner in beer is Julia Herz, formerly of the BA, once again the AHA. Like I said, we've been busy, but we are advanced Cicerones, and we are introducing the sense of beer style to the world now. The goal of this show, our tagline is essential beer style training for those who want to lead in food and beverage. What that means to me, and I want to hear what that means to you, Julia, but what that means to me is there's a lot of bad beer, bad service, bad draft lines, bad glassware. There's a lot left to be desired, even though we have become quite savvy in the craft beer world and with Cicerone and BJCP. There's a lot that we need to improve upon. Would you agree?
Yeah, without a doubt. People in their journey for beer just haven't had the same resources education-wise as they have in wine. And beer is the number one selling fermented beverage in the United States, if not the world, by far. Over wine and spirits really merits the type of attention that we intend to give it. Many people are in beer studies. They are sitting for the Beer Judge Certification Program test or the Cicerone test, or they are servers tableside or bar managers, or they're in beverage and hospitality. And nowadays, circa 2020-21, you could have a robust beer list or draft list or a cellar list, just like you have to kind of think about the resources and education needed behind a wine list. So I think I'm excited to work with you, Jeremy, and bring forth to the world our one show at a time covering essential beer styles, 100 plus, and then the Prepisodes, which are really going to all be about the elements when you study beer. What is each element? Everything from glassware, to what is actually beer, to all the essential ingredients. The list is exponential, and I really think this is the show that many people have been waiting for.
Yeah, and especially to learn the specs, to learn the background behind the beer styles, and in my view, more importantly, what to do with it. Because if you are studying to be an advanced or master Cicerone or BJCP judge, like you mentioned, then there's a lot of information that you have to retain, a lot of details you have to retain. And I'm always quite skeptical when they say that this is great for beginners and advanced users alike. It always, to me, there's no such thing. But I'm gonna contradict myself right away and say that this show is for the beginner and the advanced user, because you and I have both recently passed the advanced Cicerone test. We know what it takes to memorize these numbers, these details, memorize these styles in a very intimate fashion. But But even just having as we talk about this stuff, anyone going after that is going to have to remember these details. Anyone who's not going after that, anyone just bartending or distributing beer, just having a general sense of what these styles are about and how to apply them, I think they'll get something out of it as well.
Right. And that triggers when you say these styles, and we will do an in-depth episode on it, but we have landed on the beer judge certification style guidelines, and taking listeners through each of those styles is where we have landed. It's not to not acknowledge or pay heed to a multitude of other very useful and helpful style guidelines out there, but beer judge certification style guidelines, bjcp.org. And we are both students of that program, as well as being advanced Cicerones. Those are the guidelines that we're going to discuss most and stick to in this show.
And I think one thing I'll add to that is people might say, well, why use BJCP? I mean, it is intended for homebrewers after all. Why not use the BA guidelines? Personally, I go to the BJCP because I'm trained in them personally. To a lot of beer competitions rely on the BJCP, partly because they are very detailed. Especially compared to BA or the some European style guidelines that I've looked at. The BJCP is very, very detailed. And if you're studying for Cicerone, you are going to rely upon BJCP. And so that's why we are going to focus on the BJCP style guidelines. They are not the end-all be-all, but they are a fantastic guideline to get started.
Yeah, and when you say BA, for acronym's sake, Brewers Association is what that would stand for, and it's good for us to always qualify, but then eventually we'll just keep using the acronym, so you have to listen less long. And the big difference between the two style guidelines, since you're bringing up both of those, is for me in studies, the Beer Judge Certification Program, which most recently got updated in an in-depth way here in 2020, in 2015. So before that, it hadn't really been updated, and except for 2008. Mm-hmm. The Brewers Association kind of world beer style guidelines, they get updated every year, and there can be hundreds of updates made. And so it's really a harder thing to study and put to memory as those guidelines. So if you're sitting and testing, you certainly have to have a familiarity, especially if you get more advanced in your testing for Cicerone. But the Beer Judge Certification Program guidelines, for my mind, my troubled, dyslexic mind, documented so, is much easier to have a baseline on ingredients that then bring you to the flavors that are described in those guidelines. And the Beer Judge Certification Program guidelines are much more consistent in offering ingredients for an overview of every style that they list, whereas the Brewers Association World Beer Style Guidelines will only sometimes refer to specific ingredients that will then get you to the flavor profiles that are described.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And you also brought up different learning styles, or you alluded to different learning styles. I'm very much a visual learner, so going through entire list of numbers of like SRM, or standard reference method, which refers to color, IBUs or bitterness units, or ABV of alcohol strength, looking at just a long list of numbers, it just befuddles me. It means nothing. I need the visual, I need the kinesthetic type of learning. And so that's what I'm going to try to bring to this. When I studied all the stuff for Advanced Cicerone, I was looking at patterns, not specific numbers, and that worked out really well for me. So anyone out there who's like me, an aging jock who is kinesthetic and visual, then we're going to talk about those things to help kind of land that. Do you want to talk about your experience?
Well, and that kind of brings us to how will people use this show, A Sense of Beer Style. And Jeremy, you're kind of riffing on, in reading, I have to read to learn, but I have to auditory-wise speak it out loud to more so retain it. So this medium in podcast form is, very helpful to me to listen to or to say out loud and record. And then you're going to help us and supplement with visual aids, especially tied to each style that we overview. So you can start to see the patterns through the numbers, literally studying the style guidelines and the vital statistics, which are the, ABV, standard reference method, which is color, the original gravity, final gravity, etc. Those vital statistics for each beer style, which are listed in the style guidelines, it can be as maddening as trying to study passages in the Bible, for
Yep.
example, and being expected to recite all of them. So if you can see visually that there are patterns, I think you're going to be really pleased that this is just one form that you're listening to us in podcast. We also have visual recording through Zoom that we might start to release through YouTube. And then you'll have visual supplements that are in the form of infographics or cheat sheets from both Jeremy and I and our beer studies over the years that have helped us in our own learning styles be able to best retain the information.
Absolutely. And so all the stuff we're going to talk about the style, we're going to talk about the beer stats, we're going to talk about the ingredients, the flavors, the aromas, the colors, but we're also going to talk about the type of glassware one would expect to see if done properly. And Julia, you are the queen of food pairing, so we're also going to talk about perfect pairings for each style, because if I'm a bartender, if I'm a server, then this is really where it's going to be meaningful to me, is how can I sell this beer style that some people have never even heard of or are a little shy about tasting. We need to know how to use this stuff. But one thing we've kind of danced around the subject. Who is this ideally for? Who's the Stylecast ideally for?
Yeah, it's ideally for those that do want to lead in beer. And that would include, as shared, anyone that's server side, studying and sitting for a test on any level for beer studies and certifications from any one of the many brewing schools, universities, and programs out there. Anyone in beverage and hospitality. And then beyond that, anyone in wine, anyone in distilled spirits. The beer world has its lexicon and established ways that can really help anyone sensory-wise have grounding and then how to describe the other beverage categories that they are focused on.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that too, especially with my background working in restaurants and in industry is, or the service industry, is there are a lot of people, there are order takers and there are table guides or table leaders. There are, for those people who are just an order taker, we need to give you the confidence, the knowledge, the ability to arrive at that table, arrive at that bar, even if you're a distributor, to arrive to your account, sales reps to arrive to your account, and you are the authority. This Stylecast will help you have that so that you can become the guide, the go-to person, and that anyone who uses this that'll help them kind of step up above out of the crowd and hopefully outcompete your competition if they're not listening to the Stylecast.
100%. So it's not just being staffed to serve, right, what your customer wants. It's being staffed to guide. And the more you can guide, the more you will have influence from those that you're helping in a more positive way, a better and more increased bottom line. Yeah. And, overall, you will exponentially gain.
Absolutely. And with the work that I do in the podcast and other work, I've talked to people all around the world, and everyone I've talked to believes basically the same thing. So we're in good company. Julia, what can any listeners expect in the future as we continue to unfurl this Stylecast?
Yeah, so kind of to summarize it all up, you're going to get two versions of shows from us. One is covering style guidelines, one at a time or as a category when appropriate. And two is the Prepisodes, which really cover the multitude of topics that relate to the style guidelines and the enjoyment of beer. And you're going to get it in a reliable way, understandable way, educational way, efficient way, from experience and authoritative guides, aka me and Jeremy. So you kind of get the whole package all in one place.
Awesome. I am looking forward to the rest of this endeavor, but for now, I'd say let's toast to better beer.
Cheers to you, Jeremy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into A Sense of Beer Style. And we look forward to taking you through what we have learned and know. And we will all along the way enjoy a beer and be better for it.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to A Sense of Beer Style, the essential beer style training for those who want to lead in food and beverage. With advanced Cicerones, me, Julia,
and me, Jeremy.
Tune into the next episode as we continue exploring the world of beer styles and what to make of them. We encourage you to listen to the Prepisodes to build your foundation and better understand beer styles.
And before the next episode, I'd like to ask you to review the show and let us know what you'd like featured in upcoming episodes. Until next time, here's to you and your sense of beer style. Thank you for listening. Cheers.